So although it's pretty cool, we get this carry forward idea where everything gets to move on from MW2 to MW3. And this is kind of something we've been asking for a very long time. One of the issues that I think a lot of people are concerned about is how broken the MW2 guns will be in MW3. Primary reason for that is because we obviously get a max level gun right off the bat. I'm not sure if you're going to have to get to a certain level to unlock access to all of your MW2 weapons or how that's going to work. One of the big differences though is going to be the 150 health. I'm generally a fan of more health because it leads to slightly longer TTKs and it allows players to have to react, have to be accurate, and then actually feel like you're in a gunfight versus feeling like you're getting deleted. Keeping in mind that hardcore playlists will be available at launch, so if you prefer the fast killing 30 HP, you'll still have that option. So today's a bit of a numbers video, but I'm gonna go ahead and try and keep it as simple as possible because there's a lot of misconceptions people have about this carryover and how it's going to negatively or positively impact the weapons. So I want to go ahead and clear up a couple of those misconceptions. And quick reminder before we get too deep into the numbers, if you like this content, make sure you do subscribe with notifications on so you'll be able to find your way back when MW3 comes out. One example I'll go over here, specifically the Lockman sub, because it is an example of a gun that is very good within multiplayer, but in Modern Warfare 3, it'll likely not be in the meta conversation because of how it gets impacted by the TTK chain. So we'll give you a quick example here. So if we look over here at the first Lockman sub, we can see that it has an 800 rate of fire. They both do. Damage is the same. So we're basically taking the exact same gun, right? We put them in there, but with 100 health, 34 divides in there. It only takes 3 shots to kill. With 150 health, which we have here, it will take 5 shots to kill. That's just kind of how the math works out. An additional 2 bullets at 75 milliseconds per shot gives you an extra 150 TTK. Makes perfect sense when you understand the math, but just by plain logic, it doesn't necessarily make sense all that much because you're only increasing the health by 50, which is only a 50% increase, but you're doubling the TTK. So a lot of these scenarios happen where sometimes they actually help a gun and hurt a gun. They can go from being very bad guns in some instances to being amazing with this health change. And there's some that were probably amazing that will go to being terrible. And this is kind of cool because if you like the 100 health, you could play on Modern Warfare 2 and experience the guns the way they are. But when we transition over to MW3, all these guns are going to feel completely different, although they'll feel like the same with recoil, the attachments, the builds, the way you want to build them will all be very much the same because the carryover is there. But they will feel like, man, this thing's a marshmallow shooter. What the heck is going on? Dang, this thing hits hard. You know, it's going to be those instances. And just to give you kind of an example of how they can balance new guns, they can make them far superior to the current guns, or they can actually make them slightly worse. There's different routes they could go. I'm sure there's going to be a combination of both because they don't necessarily want everyone using the old guns right off the bat. They'll probably want to be a little bit of a power creep so that you're using and focusing on the current weapons that are being added to the game with MW3, all the brand new weapons. So I'll give you an example of how they can do this. So we got a hypothetical MP5. Let's say there's an MP5 in MW3 because there was one in MW3 in 2011. This thing had a faster fire rate of around 900 RPM. It was only 4 shots to kill because it did 40 damage to the body. Anywhere on the body from neck to toe, it was 40 shot, and then it was more to the head, and this thing was insanely broken, right? But this one at 150 health, we get 200 TTK, which is absurdly fast. It's almost like 100 TTK all over again. Then we have the MP5, which comes in with COD Mobile, a little bit fast, a little bit more damage, but it still has the same rate of fire. And you can see that one could be a faster TTK, so they could copy those data points. And then we also have one that I kind of made up where you can combine the current values of damage, but then they raise the rate of fire. They could go that route, and you can see that this gun would kill in 32 milliseconds faster than the base Lockman sub being added to MW3. And then we have, if they just copied it from 2019 and Cold War, they'd be worse versions, and then you'd probably be better off sticking to the Lockman sub if you're trying to be super competitive. And to get these theoretical TTKs, you got to take their, the damage, the bullets to kill, the rate of fire, and then it assumes 100% accuracy. So another thing that's hidden in here, maybe they could give these the faster TTKs, but then they add recoil to them. Maybe they give the slower TTKs, but they remove some of the recoil, so you're more accurate with the weapon. So there's different routes they could go. When you actually get into the other factors, there's even bullet velocity, there's open bolt delays that they have on certain weapons. So there's a lot of different factors to go into it. And I know this spreadsheet's just a bunch of numbers, but I want to give you a quick example. These are the top 30 TTKs currently based off the current data from multiplayer for both 100 health as well as 150, for close range as well as far. So I added those so I can get a good look at kind of where the weapons sit. What we can see right here is that the average TTK of the top 30 weapons without a Kimbo, because that kind of skews the numbers a little bit, is 159, which is pretty fast for Call of Duty, considering the ISO Hemlock comes in at 200. And then we also have it, if we bump up the health, that average jumps up to 293 TTK average, which is 84% slower. So even though it only went up by 50, you're getting almost 100% increase in TTK, which tends to slow it down a little bit. You got to be accurate. You have a chance to react in a gunfight, considering the average reaction time is somewhere around 200 milliseconds, and it tends to decline as you age. So that is something to be aware of. You will have a chance to react. In 2v1s, it can create another problem. So you always have that. But like I said, if you want fast TTKs and you feel like people are going to be bullet spongy, hardcore will be available. And hardcore is 30 HP. Most guns will be 1 to 2 shots to kill, and the vast majority will be 1 shot if you get a headshot. And that's at pretty much almost any range for majority of weapons. So if we look at the far TTK, it's going from 287 up to 460. Which is a jump of about 60%. So that's not being slowed down quite as much. So what does all that mean? It means that they have a little bit of a slower TTK. They're going to have a lot of room to work with, and they'll be able to fine tune the numbers, whether they focus on damage, rate of fire, recoil, bullet velocity, or open bolt delay timings to impact the weapon. They'll have a lot of that to tune, and they'll be able to figure out what's going to be a good fit, because they want you to use the new weapons. That's kind of one of the big selling points for the game, is that you're going to be able to use these weapons, but all these attachments will carry over to the new weapons. And if the new weapons are better, you're going to want to level those up, and we'll kind of see how those carry over to Warzone. So I want to explain that because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about how this will work and that these will be overpowered. The reality is some of these will probably be very good. We got the Raul at the top. We got the 7.62, which is great. A lot of recoil. We can use attack V and semi-auto. We can use the Shroud. Let me see. The Cronin, which is pretty popular. We got the Rap H, we got the HCR, and you can see these TTKs, they're actually pretty kind of lengthy. This is like a close range TTK in Warzone, but at the farthest range. So you kind of already get a grasp of what that feels like. And then you can kind of see how that's going to be overall. I'm excited. I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool that they're adding all these. Hopefully they're not dominant compared to the new stuff, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts. Appreciate the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.